Hey everyone, Credible Crypto here with a general market update. Things are going great right now, and we'll take off from where we left off in the last video. So in the last video, guys, we were consolidating in this area here. I mentioned that I'd added longs finally on Ethereum at around 140, and that we were expecting continued move to the upside. Of course, on Bitcoin, we're expecting ultimately a move to 4.3 to 4.5K. And I believe in the last video, we're consolidating on 3.9, right? So we have since then made a move up to the upside. We're now at 4.1 thousand, getting ever so closer to that 4.3 to 4.5 call that I made when we were back at 3.3 thousand. So it's finally, we're almost there now, and it's time to start looking at. We had massive volume here, guys, on this pump, so everything's looking great. Not really anything that I'm bearish about at this point in time. It looks like that target will ultimately be met. But I do want to take a look at some other coins that I believe have more potential for percentage gains with this next move to the upside. So if you guys recall, I added Ethereum at around 141 in my last video. I mentioned that. I also mentioned that I was fully loaded on Bitcoin and I wasn't looking to add any more at that point in time. So over the last couple of days, we're taking a look at the charts, and basically, became really, really evident that although Bitcoin's upside may be limited at 4.3 to 4.5 thousand, with a possible push up to the 5,000s, other coins like Ethereum and other larger cap altcoins would be making much more larger moves in percentage terms than Bitcoin. So I did change my strategy a little bit here. Although Bitcoin, the count is very, very clear. We can see very, very clear support and resistance flips on smaller coins. And I would expect that they would make larger moves to the upside than Bitcoin. So I've started to shift my holdings into other altcoins, Ethereum being my primary holding right now. So from where we were at 141, well, let's talk about Bitcoin first. We'll start with the big picture, and then we'll move on to the smaller coins that I'm looking at that have that potential for much larger gains. So for Bitcoin in particular, let's start with the daily chart. Started with the daily chart, and we're now well into our overbought territory. And as I mentioned before, once we get into that territory, we'll start making very large moves to the upside, and we're doing exactly that. So we've broken over our level of resistance here at 4,000, which acted as a resistance in the last pump, right? So we stopped directly at that level. As you can see, we wicked right up to it. We've now cleared that level, which is a great sign, and we're aiming higher, ultimately to our 4.3 to 4.5K level. Now I've talked about markets in the past and how markets tend to look for liquidity and what the larger players are thinking here. So the idea here, a very simple idea here, is that we have three untapped zones where liquidity is resting. Guys that shorted these levels now have their stops above these levels. And as you can see, if you shorted this level and placed your stop here, we came down, we went up, never crossing above this level, came down again, went up, never crossing above this level, came down, went up. So these are three areas that I'm looking at as far as liquidity zones, and it's nice because we've just crossed our first one. As you can see, we just broke above our first zone here. We cleared the liquidity in that area. That being said, there's more liquidity resting slightly above at 4.2, and there's even more liquidity resting higher at 4.4. And that 4.4 level just so happens to align with our target of 4.3 to 4.5. Now that we've come all the way up to this level, it doesn't make much sense for us to just plummet down without taking liquidity in these two areas, right? So it makes logical sense that we at least test this 4.3 to 4.5K region in that sense as well, right? So ultimately, again, bullish to 4.3 to 4.5 like I have been. But now we're going to discuss the possibility that we go even higher. So I did mention that you guys follow me on Twitter. You've seen that I posted weeks ago that I'm looking for this rally. I think we were back at around, when did I post it? Maybe at 3.3 or maybe I posted at 3.6. I can't remember exactly when. But I tweeted out that I'm expecting this rally to ultimately top out between 4.3 to 4.5K, and that if we break that level, then we'd be aiming for the low 5,000s. And at that time I said that was quite unlikely in my opinion, and that I think we would end the rally here and then continue to the downside and make new lows. Now, that still looks more likely than not. So I still think that this is the top. But we're going to take a look at some altcoins that have clear skies above them and a lot of room to run, Ethereum included. And it's kind of making me wonder if this rally can move even further. Now we know that when Bitcoin consolidates in an uptrend, we usually see altcoins popping off like crazy, right? So the only thing that I'm really thinking is, even if this is our ultimate target, hopefully we consolidate for a longer period of time and take some more time to actually get there. That would allow Ethereum to reach my $200 target. That would allow some of the altcoins I'm looking at to reach their ultimate targets, which are 40, 50, 60% above where they are now. If Bitcoin just continues straight up and we hit this target right away, it's not going to give the other coins time to actually get to the targets that I'm seeing for them. At least that's what I'm thinking in my head. So I'm thinking two possible things. One, we consolidate for a while longer while those alts pop off, ultimately landing in 4.3 to 4.5K and dumping from there. By that time, the alts should have reached their targets as well, I would hope, and then those would dump as well, obviously. Or number two is that 4.3 to 4.5K is just a temporary pit stop before we continue to those low 5,000s that we talked about earlier. And in that case, I could definitely see all those alts reaching their targets because we have plenty of upside for Bitcoin. And even if Bitcoin's going to more than double from the low, then alts will fly, right? So those are the two possibilities that I see. Again, I still think this green zone is the most likely level where we stop, but I'm now more considering the 5,000s a little bit more than I was before because of all these alt setups that look absolutely amazing right now, right? So we're going to go over those as well. I've posted them on my Twitter and my Discord. If you guys are there, you probably already know some of them. But the point is that I think we're going to see in the next coming weeks, as long as Bitcoin, is still heading to this target, a resurgence in many, many alts. And I think that we have a very good chance to catch lots of gains there, and I don't think that it should be looked over. So we'll talk about that a little bit more than I normally do. I don't normally talk about alts in the big picture, but we'll talk about that here as well. So let's go straight to the analysis. So for Bitcoin, again, expecting liquidity to be taken from these highs here and these highs here. And once we take that liquidity, we'll end up right in our perfect zone. Not looking for any shorts at the moment on anything really, because everything looks extremely bullish. That being said, I am hoping for some sort of pullbacks. I will be adding on every single pullback that we get at this point in time. If we look at the 4-hour RSI, it looks like a possible bearish divergence forming here between this high and this high. That being said, volume was higher on this leg up, so that's a positive sign. And on top of that, if we look at the daily, which is more important than the 4-hourly, we don't have any divergences present, right? So we do have this, actually, yeah, every single divergence, there's a hidden divergence that some were claiming, and that's clearly invalidated now, as long as we close above this level here. So divergences in the daily are non-existent right now. All we're seeing is a push into oversold territory, which means likely much more upside ahead. That being said, again, I would like to see consolidation add on dips. I'm not probably not going to add on Bitcoin particularly because I think the upside is more limited. But I am looking for dips right now, right? Not shorting anything. So Bitcoin looks good. Clear skies ahead. We're in overbought territory. This is when the biggest moves happen on the daily, and we're there. So that looks good for Bitcoin. The 3-day is also reaching up to 60s. If we break above 60, that will be massive, guys. As you can see, and I've talked about this in prior videos as well, 60 is the magic level, right? Depending on your time frame. So since we had our peak in the bear market, or sorry, in the bull market of 2017 at 20,000, we have failed to get above the 60 level on 3-day RSI. We're now quickly approaching that level once again. A break above the 60 level on 3-day RSI could signal a much bigger rally taking place here and could definitely mean a push to the 5,000. So that's what I'm looking at right here, this key level on the 3-day RSI. Now that the 1-day is above 60, we're looking at the 3-day, right? So 60 is the magic level. The larger time frames, the more time frames on the larger time frames that we can get above 60, the more bullish we are. So right now, the 1-day has already achieved that level. Now we're looking for the 3-day to get there as well, right? So that's what I'm seeing on Bitcoin, guys. So Bitcoin clear skies now that we've broken 4.1, 4.2, whatever, clear skies to 4.3 to 4.5 thousand. Let's take a look at Ethereum next. So Ethereum, if you guys have been following me on Twitter, you know that after buying at 141, I then posted yesterday that I'm adding longs at 145 to 146, filled all those longs, and then I also set orders to buy on a break of 147 because of this. This is what I was saying, guys. A triangle that initially looked, actually, I guess it still does look like a symmetrical triangle. I thought maybe, I mean, you could call it either, really. You could call this a ascending triangle, right? Ascending triangle, or you could call it a symmetrical triangle. Bottom line is expecting a break to the upside. Now, many were, so I posted that I was expecting to break the upside and I was longing 145, 146. And I had some people ask me, wouldn't you be longing into resistance? That's never a good idea. Why are you longing into resistance? And so basically the reason that I decided to long into resistance, 90% of the time I will not do that. But in this case I did. And the reason was because there was other factors that I was looking at. And everything was telling me that a break to the upside was pretty much imminent, right? So what I was seeing, a few things, right? First off, we had a clear validation point below 142, right? So our downside is limited. We know that if we drop below 142, the upside play in the short term would be invalid, right? So we had a set stop loss if we wanted to do that, right? So that's the first thing. Our risk was defined, and that's the most important thing, all right? The second thing to consider is that we had this daily and weekly support right below us at 139. So even if we lost 142, we have a major support level right below us to catch us and prevent us from falling even further, right? So that was the second aspect that I was looking at. The third aspect was that this 149 to 150 resistance had already been tapped once, and we're consolidating below it, right? So either a break up or down was imminent at this point, one way or the other. We had support below us, we had resistance above us, right? And then finally, the Elliott Wave count was telling me that we should expect a break to the upside, so that added to my bullish bias. The RSI was telling me that we should expect a break to the upside because on the RSI on the daily, as you guys know, we were in overbought territory, which means momentum is the strongest for the bulls right now, and it's very weak for the bears, right? So all these things were telling me that although we were between support and resistance, everything was telling me that we should be expecting a break to the upside. And on top of that, our risk was well defined, and we knew where to place our stop loss in case things went the other direction. It was a very risk-free, or not risk-free. It was a very high risk to reward ratio trade, right? We knew that our target above here was the mid 150s. I mentioned that. I said, one, we're looking for 150s or we're looking for our next target in the 170s, right? So our risk was well defined and our trade was a trade that made sense, right, from a risk to reward perspective, and everything was telling me that we should expect a break to the upside. So I did add longs here, and I added again longs on a break of 147. So I tripled my Ethereum position since I bought at 141 in this little zone here. We've now broken up, guys, and we've hit that resistance in the mid 150s, right? We've not yet cleared these highs. The liquidity thing is the same over here. I'd expect to clear these highs. And then once those highs are cleared, I would expect a move to the 170s as our first target, right? This cluster of consolidation. This is where I would expect, if we don't pull back here, and I don't think we will, this is where I would expect some sort of a retracement or a larger pullback since we haven't gotten one yet. With this wave being a triangle, this could very well be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and this could be our fifth into this resistance, and then we could retrace and then get another leg to the upside. Ultimately, I think 200 is where we're headed, right? But in the shorter term, I'm looking to possibly take some partial profits from the 140s at this 170 level. And then if we do get a retracement, load up once again to an even larger position for the next leg to the upside, right? So that's what I'm looking for on Ethereum. Of course, Bitcoin still has $300 or $400 to go to hit our target. I think it's like $300 to hit our target. So this target, the 170s, I think is pretty much, I'm not going to say guaranteed, but I think it's insanely likely that we hit this level at the minimum, right? And then above that, if we get above that, then I think the 200s are the next stop. So we'll be monitoring this, and then we'll go from there, right? But first, this is the immediate target in the 170s, and I'll take partial profits at that level, all right? Now let's take a look at some of these other alts that I'm talking about, guys. I mentioned that we have alts that are just looking primed to just skyrocket right now. So we'll talk a little bit about those. And I did mention these in my Discord, and I think that over the next week or so, plenty of alts have not yet popped, and they will be popping. So I plan on just catching the pops as they go, and shifting the money into coins that have not yet popped to try and catch as many of these pops as I can. But let's start with Bitcoin Cash. Although I don't believe in Bitcoin Cash, and I don't like the idea of it, and I don't think it's a real Bitcoin, none of that matters right now. We're just playing these short term to make some money on these shorter term pumps, and I think that Bitcoin Cash is really primed for a pump at this point in time. So last night, let's see, damn, my chart got erased. So last night, let's see here, I think it did get erased. Unfortunately, I had it all drawn out. Let me pull it up on my Discord. Let me do that real quick. All right, guys, so here is the Bitcoin Cash chart that I mapped out last night when I couldn't get any sleep. And this is what we're looking for in Bitcoin Cash. And we'll talk about where we are right now compared to where we were last night because we did make some moves overnight. So Bitcoin Cash, guys, consolidating under this level here, this is a major daily resistance level. And so what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a close, even on the 12-hourly, above 147.7, right? A close on the 12-hourly above 147.7 would probably have me going long. What I'm seeing here on our side, I'm seeing that we've just broken above the 60 level. We're dropping down to retest it, and we should soon be in that overbought territory, guys. This is the daily chart, and again, remember, this is where the magic happens. We're on our way there. So the best pump for Bitcoin Cash is yet to come, right? So first target would be around 240, which is from 170 to 240. That is a 60 or what is that? 60% gain. Yeah, 60% gain for our first target, guys. And above that, we're looking at we're looking at 320 to 340, which is 108% gain from where we are today, guys. So massive, massive potential on Bitcoin Cash here. Of course, this can only happen as long as Bitcoin doesn't dump. And this is where I was talking about, if I hope Bitcoin consolidates here for a period of time, or I hope it makes its way to 4.3 to 4.5 slowly, or I hope that 4.3 to 4.5 is not the top if it makes it there very quickly, because I want to see these levels play out for these smaller alts. So we've made a high on the daily, we've made a low. I want to see a higher high. We're looking for a higher high on the daily on Bitcoin, on Ethereum. We've already seen it on Litecoin, and I want to see it replicated across these altcoins. Remember, this level here at 400 is the same level that Bitcoin was at 6,000, right? So really, Bitcoin Cash dumped a lot harder percentage-wise, and I'd expect it to recover a lot harder percentage-wise for this retest before we get our dump to new lows with Bitcoin, right? So generally, the alts that dump the hardest with Bitcoin usually pump the hardest with Bitcoin, and that's where we get this chart from and this idea from, right? So these are targets for Bitcoin Cash. Again, our key level is 147.7. I want to see it close above that on the 12 hourly. Now let's take a look at where we are right now. This was made last night. Let's take a look at where we are right now with Bitcoin Cash. All right, guys, so here is Bitcoin Cash right now. All right, and again, I said my chart got deleted, so you can't see all the points mapped out. But again, what was our key level? 147.7. And look where we are now, 148.3. All right, so I'm just going to draw that key level here once again. There's the key level. We are very slightly above it. Let's go to the 12 hourly chart, make it a little bit more easy to see. And as you can see here, very evident on the 12 hourly chart that we have this resistance level. We're slightly above it right now. We're looking for a close above it within, I think 12 hours will end in like 3 hours, right? So if we can maintain this move for the next 3 hours and we get a close above it, that's looking very good. If you want to be a little bit more safe, you can wait for the daily, guys. But honestly, I'm probably not going to wait for that, because if we look at the RSI on the 12 hourly, we're about to hit that oversold territory once again. And on the daily, we are right there, guys. So I'm probably going to enter on this 12 hourly close as long as we close above 147.7. That's our key level. Again, I'll be targeting for the initial move 330s, right, which is a 60% gain from where we are now. And then above that, we were looking at the 400s, right? But yeah, that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin Cash, guys. Upside potential looks massive here. Now, we have seen these moves already play out on other coins, all right? This is what I'm trying to get at, guys. Look at this. This was EOS. Again, before it had hit the overbought territory, we were resting right below it on the daily. We broke above the resistance, and we made a massive move, all right? We made a move. We made an over 33% move to the upside here, guys. This is what I'm looking for on a majority of alts that have not popped yet. I think it's a matter of time. We're right there at the same levels that these were prior, and this one just exploded. And I think we're going to see many others explode in the same way. So I'm looking to not jump in on these things that are already moving, guys. You don't want to be hopping in when the pop has already happened. That's not the point. We're trying to hop in before the pop has happened. You want to reduce your risk as much as possible and increase your exposure to the upside as much as possible, but while risking the least. Entering in on something like EOS that is already pumped is not accomplishing that, what we're looking for. However, entering on something like Bitcoin Cash that has yet to make that massive pump and is showing all the same signs is exactly what we're looking for, guys. So Bitcoin Cash is the first one that I'm probably going to be buying within 4 hours once we make that close, all right? Second coin that I'm looking at that looks primed to pop as well is... All right, second coin was Neo, guys. Again, my chart got deleted. I hate this. I don't know why it keeps happening, but I use I use my laptop, I use my desktop, and I use my iPads to chart. So sometimes the charts save on top of themselves, and then this kind of stuff happens. But let me again pull up my original Neo chart that I posted last night, and we'll analyze it just like we did with Bitcoin Cash. All right, guys, so here's the Neo chart that I posted last night. Again, a key level that we need to get and close above is 9.38. This is on the daily chart, so I want to see a daily close again that's happening in like 4 to 5 hours above 9.38 for Neo. And if we do get that daily close, I'm targeting $13 or slightly less than $13. I'm around 12. That's around like 12.60 or something like that for a 35% gain on Neo. And then of course above that we're targeting the $16 range, $15 to $16 range, but we'll get to that. Initially I want to see a move to this level. Again, RSI bouncing off of 60, already headed up. This was posted last night, and so it looks like we're ready to make that giant move. Let's take a look at the progress that we had from last night to this morning. All right, so from last night, guys, to this morning, let's mark off our key level on the daily that we're looking to close above. All right, 9.35. Currently at $10, massive volume pop. So we've already started making that move to the upside. I did buy Neo last night, guys, because I saw that RSI was already bouncing off of 60. And I posted this in my Discord that I'd expect it, if it's already bouncing, to possibly not. I'm not going to wait for that close here because it already looks like it's ready to make its move. It has already started to make that move, guys. It's up to $10, so I'm already up about 10% on the move. And again, our target is right here at $12.60, which is going to be a 30% move from the downside, right? But basically, what I'm looking here for on the daily. All right, sorry guys, I got a phone call, but anyways, back to the chart. So yeah, we've already started that move to the upside here. Looking for a daily close above $9 to target 12.80. If we get a retest here, that's an absolute buy for me, or adding positions for me opportunity. But right now I'm already in my position for NEO, so this coin is good for me for now. I'm not looking to add it unless we get a retest. But yeah, again, NEO is showing the same things that EOS is showing. It's showing the same things that Kraken is showing. It's showing the same Kraken, same things that that Bitcoin Cash is showing. And it's showing the same things that every other coin that we've been looking at is shown before we saw a massive pump, and it's showing massive volume to coincide with all that. So again, NEO is the next coin I'm looking at. If you guys haven't entered yet, still room to make it to $12. But again, Bitcoin Cash is the one that hasn't yet popped, so you may look at entering Bitcoin Cash. Uh, this is another coin, but basically, guys, I'm seeing these setups across the board. It's not just NEO, it's not just Bitcoin Cash. It's almost every other alt that's out there that hasn't yet exploded to the upside. There are exceptions. There are a few that I was looking at that I would not enter, that I do not like. But there's a lot of setups just like these, right, that I'm looking at. And I'm going to be following these over the next week or so. And I think a lot of these are going to play out. And I think we have a chance to make a lot of money. So I'm not going to overlook this. I'll keep updating you guys on the altcoins in these types of videos. If you're not following me on Twitter, I recommend you follow me on Twitter, because I'll be posting more intermediate updates over there. And I'll be looking for new coins that are about to pop like every day or every other day right now, because I think we're about to see massive moves across the board and I don't want to miss them. So stay tuned with that, guys. This was just a quick video update on what I'm expecting. We talked about Bitcoin, we talked about Ethereum, we talked about the altcoins and all the setups that we're looking at. Let's go back. Let's go back to Ethereum and talk about the Elliott Wave counts here for a little bit, right? So Ethereum, it looks like we are working on a fifth wave to the upside, right? We know that whenever we have any sort of move, it can't just be one five-wave move to the upside. There has to be more follow through, right? So it can be a 5-3-5. It can be a 5-3-5-3-5 if this is a first leg of five, or it could be again a 5-3-5, which would be an ABC correction. But we know that it can't just be a 5, right? So what that tells me is that upside is still there. Potential for upside is still there. 200s are not far off. We went from $100 to 160, so to go from 160 to $200 doesn't seem like it's going to be difficult at all, and I think we'll get there. That being said, there should be some sort of a pullback in between these legs, right? So if this is just like a three leg move, which is going to be the conservative idea, then we should get some sort of a B wave, right? Some sort of a pullback during these pumps before we head up to our $200 target. So ideally, I mean, I'd love to see a test of 170 and then pull back to 150 and then pump to 200. That would be an ideal scenario, but we don't know if that's going to happen. So I'm not going to risk taking any profits right now unless we get to 170. Then I'll consider taking off partial profits. But we are looking for some sort of pullback, and when we get that pullback, guys, I'll be adding on that dip. On Bitcoin, it's not as clear. This doesn't look like 5 waves to me. It could be 5 waves to me, but I'm not quite sure what this could have been. A triangle, but I'm not quite sure what type of structure this was. And this was a very long and drawn out structure. And the wave lengths, this leg was about as long as this leg. This leg is about as long as these ones. So it may or may not be a 5-wave move. Generally, with 5-wave moves, we tend to see some sort of an extended leg at one point in time. We're not seeing that here though, and I'm just not quite sure what this move is yet. It could be 5 waves. It could be. I mean, we don't know what it is, but the bottom line is that we know that 4.3 to 4.5 is what we're looking for. It seems pretty much guaranteed. The question is, will we continue higher? So I'm not looking at short 4.3 to 4.5 right now until I see some more confirmation, because all these signs that I'm showing you guys that tell me that the bulls are back, at least in the short term. So right now everything is focused on longs here, but in terms of the Elliott Wave count here, again, we still have that larger structure that I'd expect to play out, which is some sort of a WXY, right? So we don't quite know what this structure is yet, but we're still expecting this WXY to play out, and this would be a perfect 1-to-1 of the W to the Y. But if we get like a 1.61 for the Y, then we could definitely make it in these $5,000 levels. So it's definitely not out of the question. But for right now, not much to update on Bitcoin besides I think we're going higher, and I'm looking to buy again the dips on all the coins pretty much that I'm seeing here. This was all I really have for this update, guys. I just wanted to show you guys that our targets look like they're going to be met pretty soon now. Call this back on at 3.3 thousand. We're now nearing our target of 4.3 to 4.5. So if you guys, as you guys know, I basically targets off of price action, off of support and resistance, and off the Elliott Wave. Another thing I want to touch on, guys, a lot of guys out there that, I don't know what the issue is. They're just oh, Elliott Wave doesn't work. Elliott Wave's um, magical waves. Elliott waves are memes. All these things, but I don't, you can't really deny. You can't really deny that. I think if you know how to use Elliott waves, they can work tremendously well. That being said, it's not an easy technique to master, and just because you can't master it or just because you're not good at using it doesn't mean it doesn't work, right? So everyone has their own methods. Some people swear by price action, some people swear by Elliott wave, some people swear by indicators, MACD, RSI, OBV, all these different ways of doing things. So I don't really see why people love to bash on methods that they don't use or don't prefer or don't seem to understand, when very clearly there's people out there that can make them work and make them work very well. So um, I have no problem with any method that anyone uses. If you could go outside and stare at the stars for an hour and figure out which way BTC is going, then that's all the more power to you. It doesn't matter to me as long as you're making money off of whatever analysis you're doing in whatever way you choose to do it. Do what works best for you. For me, that's Elliott Wave, price action and support and resistance as a combination. But you guys do whatever works best for you, and I don't see any reason to bash other methods just because you're not a fan of them. But in reality, Elliott Wave is all based on market structure, guys. Really, that's what it is when it comes down to it. I'll probably make another video down the road explaining that. But really, Elliott Wave it's the exact same thing that people are looking for when they're searching for trends. They're looking for higher lows and higher highs, and that's what a trend is, and that's what Elliott Wave focuses on multiple different time frames at once. So there's more to it than just magical waves. But anyways, guys, that's all I have for you guys on this particular video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out on Twitter. Definitely follow me on Twitter, guys, if you aren't already. And of course, guys, everything that I've said in this video, everything that I talk about here is not financial advice. It is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Do not trade based off what I tell you guys. I'm seeing. Make your own decisions. Um, just utilize my analysis to learn about how I trade the markets. That's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe on YouTube. And yeah, follow me on Twitter. All right, guys, thanks.